Ladies and gentlemen, the threat of escalation of war between Russia and Ukraine into a nuclear environment increases tremendously with the latest development. Let's watch on, and more importantly, the implication to our financial market and what does it mean for the stock market and the rest of the financial environment. Let's watch on, shall we? Before I start, I would like to say that the focus of this video is not to analyze who's going to win, who's going to lose, who is right, who is wrong, but more importantly, the implication of what's happening in the European environment, and more importantly, what's going to happen with the rest of the world in terms of the financial impact and things like that. So before you judge Mr. Lu whether he's a political expert or not, I outrightly say I'm not, but I think I've enough information to give a view. Ukraine has just made its first ATACMS strike in Russia. Now, what on earth is this missile? I'll explain later, but he has now struck in Russian territory with a US-made missile for the first time. And this is a major escalation for both parties, right? So Ukraine scores a hit, and Russia is now being assaulted by Western-made missile in their own territory, and that's got Russia very irritated. So how do we end up in this environment where there's an escalation? It all started when Russia decided to take a particular step that is surprising to the rest of the world. Recently, it's reported by NATO that North Korean troops have been deployed to Russia. And right now, the military intelligence has said that around 10,000 North Korean troops has been deployed to Russia and operating in Kursk region where Ukraine has gained a foothold. This is considered an escalation because now it involves foreign troops. And all the while, if it's between two countries, involving their own troops, that's their own private matter. Now, with an addition of an external country, this is considered an escalation. So NATO chief actually said that this represents a significant escalation and dangerous expansion of Russia in Ukraine. And President Vladimir Putin of Russia refused to deny that North Korean troops have arrived. There is also rumor that up to 100,000 troops from North Korea could be sent. On this part, one might ask, why is North Korea interested in getting involved in other people's affairs? So North Korea clearly needs Russian aid in terms of food and oil and money, and Russia clearly needs more troops on the ground. So it's a very aligned needs on both sides. And this is a major escalation to NATO and also to South Korea. So largely because of this, President Biden of US has authorized the use of US-supplied long-range missile. And this particular missile is called Army Tactical Missile System. I think it's also pronounced as ATACMS. This missile was all the while in Ukraine territory, being used by the Ukraine for their own defense. They have always been restricted to use this missile within Ukraine territory. Right now, President Biden has allowed these missiles to strike Russian territory. This is a major escalation from both sides. Russia has vowed to respond if Ukraine fire these missiles into Russian territory, and guess what? Ukraine really fired. And I'm just thinking what will happen to Russia in terms of the response now. So it's all over the news right now in this space. Russian Defense Ministry said that Ukraine has fired 6 ballistic missiles into Russia. They managed to shoot down 5 and damage 1, but 1 clearly has landed. And their news agency has said that, enemy struck a facility in the Bryansk region with 6 ballistic missiles, and they have shot down 5 and damaged 1, and the fragments fell at the military facility, which caused a fire, which quickly extinguished, and there were no casualty or damage. But clearly, right, attack has started, and President Zelensky did not deny, but neither did he confirm that US missiles has been used. In response, President Putin has now issued a new nuclear doctrine, which is a nuclear threat to US and the rest of the world. It basically updated their doctrine. Last time, they would actually say that if they receive a threat on their home ground, they would consider it the use of nuclear weapon. In the previous doctrine contained in a 2020 decree, Russia may use nuclear weapons in case of a nuclear attack by an enemy or conventional attack that threatens the existence of the state. So those were the old doctrine, but the new doctrine says this, right? That Russia may consider aggression from a non-nuclear state, which in this case is Ukraine, but with the participation by a nuclear country, which is basically if they receive assistance by a nuclear country, which what they would deem as a joint attack. And they would use a nuclear weapon, or rather, they will consider using a nuclear weapon. So basically, it's just issuing a nuclear threat to the rest of the world. Why is this situation escalating? Well, I think it's largely because they know that President Donald Trump, or rather President-elect Donald Trump, is coming to possibly call for a peace treaty. And everyone wants to gain some grounds right now before he comes around and tell everybody to stop and force everybody to peace talk to end the fighting. So far, both sides, both Moscow and Kyiv, are trying to improve their battlefield positions ahead of any talks. So the more grounds they gain right now when it comes to the negotiation table will make them in a more favorable position. So right now, the war has entered the first 1,000 days, right? And that's basically a 3-year war already, very, very long. And Donald Trump, who managed to convince the rest of the world that he's going to end the war very quickly, and he himself said he's going to end the war in 24 hours. I do think that he can end the war. The question is at what price, right? So let's see what will happen. But right now, everybody knows that he's going to come and try to end the war. And basically, everybody is not trying to escalate to gain more grounds. But actually, all this talk of war don't really bother all of us who are so far away in Asia, so far away in the rest of the world, except for one thing, right? If these have a threat to our stock market. I know I sound very heartless and things like that, but here really this is a financial channel. I should have a financial focus to this. And initially, during the strike by Ukraine, the stock market futures actually went down quite a lot. But guess what? When the market opens, the whole stock market just continue to go up again. So which is something that surprised me. So the S&P 500 has went up by 0.4%. The Nasdaq has went up by about 0.7%. Basically, they ignore the threat of the war, which is great. I don't know whether if a war does break out with a major escalation, meaning that not so much the exchange of fire right now, but if indeed, nuclear weapons are being armed and start pointing at each other, will the stock market continue to rise so much? I don't know whether that happened, but if it does happen, I think the market will have a very bad reaction. Meanwhile, safe haven assets like gold and bond prices have gone up. That's a normal response. Government bonds, Japanese yen, gold, all this has went up with Russia threatening to use nuclear weapon, okay, more liberally. And this is something that is totally expected when there's an increased tension. Well, just to conclude, I personally think that escalation to nuclear is very unlikely. Not impossible, but very, very unlikely. And this is a thinking that's aligned with many geopolitical analysts. Nuclear is only very useful when it's used as a threat, okay? And the minute you use it, it's mutually assured destruction, short form MAD. So nobody really like to use it. And every eyes is on Trump right now to see whether he means business, that he can stop this war and bring it to an end in a very short time. So I think all grounds are trying to gain more stronger positions before Trump comes on board in January next year. As for right now, as a use of American weapons and European weapons that can fire deep into Russian territory is being used. Clearly, this is something that can threaten the peace across the world and peace in the financial market as well. But I think the escalation to nuclear, as I say, is very unlikely. Let's see what Donald Trump can do, okay? Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a day or two. Bye-bye.